Before we really get into the chapter this week, I just wanted to talk about how a lot of Horikoshi's panels the past couple weeks have been very, very cool looking. Those All for One and Endeavor shots in this chapter were so crazy. I didn't think he was going to pull that out, especially that All for One panel. He looked so menacing, but he's been doing like a lot of like these different like really exaggerated panels the past couple weeks, and I really do enjoy them, and he did very good with this chapter. But I just wanted to say that at the beginning, but this chapter in general was very, very good. It was pretty short. We didn't really get too much fighting, but we definitely got the point across of how this fight is kind of going to proceed forward now. And I'm thinking that it's going to really mostly be Endeavor that's going to hopefully be able to solo All for One, which at this point in the story, I feel like he should be able to. And this is the perfect opportunity for them to give him a chance to do it. So without further ado, let's get right into the beginning of the chapter. So this week's chapter starts off with Tsukiyomi and Jiro up in the air, and Jiro starts off instantly saying that, drop me and catch me later, so that Tsukiyomi can go in for his big attack and attempt to further knock off the helmet or the mask that All for One was wearing. And, they're just not trying to skip a beat. They're trying to make sure that they keep following up with consecutive attacks before All for One can really plan anything or plan ahead. And we see that it does technically succeed. He goes in for a Black Abyss Ephemeral Ragnarok, and this does end up hitting All for One, and it completely shatters his mask. And we see Hawk saying that, bet you thought we were just some flies here. And he's saying that flies can be annoying sometimes, and we see that this really did mess up All for One. Like he's not on his A game right now, and he starts to mention that he should have been able to dodge that strike with ease, but his senses are very laggy right now. His senses are lagging behind, and he's going over the fact that even though he's lost his eyes and different other sensory organs due to his fights with All for One or One for All, he wasn't really at tip-top shape, but he makes up for that with all of his different quirks, and we know that. But he's just going over the fact that right now his quirks are rebelling, and they're not listening to him right now, and that's why he's going to have a very hard time moving forward in this fight. And he mentions that. And this is where we get to one of my favorite panels of the chapter. Before that, Hawks is basically saying that all that we've been able to give him are superficial wounds, and that we need to follow this up with some very big attacks. And he's saying we can finish this. But then we see this crazy panel of All for One devouring the first. We see that crazy panel, and it looks so crazy. I don't know how Horikoshi could have drawn this, but it looks awesome. And after that, we see that All for One is having a sort of quirk awakening, I guess you could say. He's knocking back Hawks, using those sharp data knife things. He's using those to like basically shoot out everybody and get them to back up off of him. And we see in the next couple panels, Jiro's reacting, Tsukiyomi's reacting, and even Hawks looks very beat up. And we see that All for One basically clad himself in this very thick armor that's all across his body. At least his face right now, he put it over his face, and I'm assuming it's going to be over his body too, but he's using this to very much protect himself from getting his mask taken off or sustaining any real damage again in this fight. At this point, things are looking very bleak for the heroes, and it's at this point that the true star of the show shows up, and it's Endeavor. And even All for One is basically saying that, honestly, the stubbornness of yours is what wrecked your life beyond repair, Endeavor. And we see Endeavor coming in hot. He doesn't care. He's going to go in, fight toe-to-toe with this new version of All for One that just spawned in. So before that happens, though, we see some flashback panels, and it's basically the young Endeavor talking down to this older version of Endeavor, and he's saying that you're even weaker than before. Your conditions, your atonement, your mistakes, and your responsibilities, all of those things you did was to really expose how weak you are. And he's going crazy with this. He's trying to belittle Endeavor, and this is just Endeavor most likely in his mind kind of just telling himself that he's useless, pathetic, and that he can't really accomplish anything. Young Endeavor even starts telling him that she'll never become a superhuman, NG. Remember your origins, and remember who the real enemy was all along. And he's telling him to remember the time that he saw a father try to save his girl from a villain and ended up as nothing but burnt lumps of flesh. And he's basically saying that, do you remember your jealousy and inferiority to the one true superhuman that is All Might? and the fact that he even tried to choose a hero name such as Endeavor, which means hard work, to try and show that, he's working hard and basically try to, I guess, make this facade of him being a true, genuine person that doesn't have any flaws, but that is further from the case than it truly is. We know that Endeavor is flawed, and Endeavor knows that he's flawed, and I like that he's addressing this, and we get some very cool panels of him talking at the end of the chapter where he addresses his flaws, but he kind of goes with them and realizes that they're only going to technically make him a better person. Before that, though, the younger Endeavor starts to say that that's right, you'll never become like All Might or Deku. All this time you've been fighting a battle against your own weaknesses, and that you're not going to be able to just turn over a new leaf. This is where we get the last couple panels of the chapter that I love so much. These panels are so cool, but we get one of the panels where it says, never stop cursing your weaknesses. After all, it's the only thing you've been living for. And then we get Endeavor looking menacing. He just looks so cool, so crazy in this panel. And I do like that Horikoshi always has like these points where like he has more of like a traditional Western kind of comic book style of drawing, since you really do see that in these panels. It looks more like a comic book that you would see over here, something like Superman, Batman. And I do like that he always like kind of slips these into like the different chapters. He'll have like really cool panels that look like that. But this panel in specific just looks awesome. And Endeavor hits All For One with a punch, and it looks like it completely shattered all of that armor that All For One had on his body. It completely one-shot it, and that's just so cool. But then we get Endeavor talking, and he's saying, you've got that right, All For One. I'm as stubborn as they come. I will never congratulate myself or pat myself on the back. Ending this fight once and for all is my duty. And this is where the chapter ends. And the ending words is Todoroki Enji, witness how he lives. And that's how the chapter finishes this week. And can we just say that was such a great chapter, especially that ending. I feel like people give Endeavor so much more hate than he really does deserve. Like, he's done some bad things in the past, but he's a human being and he's definitely learned from those mistakes. So I feel like if you're still hating on Endeavor right now for the things he did in the past, like, that's super weird, since everybody makes mistakes and everybody does things that they regret. And we know that Endeavor is a person that is full of regrets, but even then, we see that for the past couple years now with his redemption, that he's been trying to move forward past that, become a better person. And he even says it at the end of this chapter that he's never going to just act like his weaknesses don't exist. No, he's going to, in a way, embrace those weaknesses and try and do better with himself, using those weaknesses as a catalyst of how he should move forward. And that's what I was kind of getting from the final couple panels of this chapter, that he's not going to forget the weaknesses, that he's actually going to live with them and use them to try and be better and to do his duties. So I really do appreciate Endeavor, and he's still one of my favorite My Hero Academia characters. And I think that Horikoshi's done such a great job with this whole character arc. And I think right now, if he's able to solo One For All, which I really want him to be able to, I feel like he should be able to in this point in the story. But either way, I feel like just him fighting in this fight with One For All in general, like, this really is going to be like kind of the ending of his character arc, and it's going to show that he's really come around to become a great person in one way or another. And I really do appreciate that Horikoshi even started this character arc, since before this, a lot of people just hated him, and for good reason, since he didn't have any redemption yet. But right now, he's very good. With that being said, though, it looks like we're going to wrap up this video, and I just want to go over the fact again that this was a very good chapter, and luckily there's no break next week, so we're going to go right back into the fighting. And I think we're going to obviously come back to this fight. I don't think we're going to be skipping to any other ones, and we'll probably get the ending to this fight, or maybe some sort of finishing portion of it, and then we'll get an ending later on. But I definitely do think that there's going to be a big fight with All For One and Endeavor, and Endeavor's hopefully going to come out on top by himself. But even if he does get help, it's still going to be their win. But it was just a great chapter this week, like, very, very amazing. I really like this chapter, and I always like when Horikoshi further tries to develop Endeavor and give him time to shine, since he is one of my favorite characters in the series. So it's always good to get, more Endeavor in the story, and I think Horikoshi did very well with this. And other than that, I just wanted to say thank you for taking your time out of your day to watch this video. I really do appreciate that. I do appreciate everybody supporting the videos and giving back. I'd also like to say that if you like the video, like it, and if you also like everything else that you see on this channel, you should possibly consider subscribing, as it really does help me out, and I really do appreciate each and every person that does that. You don't understand how much that helps me out. But I just wanted to say thank you for watching the video, and I'm out. Peace.